Today we'll study about the tongue, the muscular organ tongue. Okay, now tongue is a muscular organ and it is situated in the floor of the mouth. Its function, as you can see here in the picture, it is situated in the mouth and it's a muscular organ. So its function is taste. It brings about the taste to the food. Speech, we speech with the various languages, we speak with the help of tongue only. The mastication, tongues help in the mastication also, and deglutition. Okay, deglutition is also a function of your tongue. Now the next is there is various parts of the tongue, external features of the tongue. Tongue has a root, a tip and a body. Okay, root is attached to the mandible and the soft palate, above and hyoid bone below. These attachments prevent the swallowing of the tongue. In between two bones, it is related to the glenoid and the mylohyoid muscles. So tongue has three parts. As you can see, tongue has three parts. The tip at the front, okay, the tip which of the organ forms the anterior free end which lies behind the upper incisor teeth. Okay, now next is the root which is connected to it is attached to the mandible and soft palate above and hyoid bone below. Okay, these attachments prevent the swallowing of the tongue. So these attachments are responsible for the presence of the tongue attached to one end and free at the other end. And it has a body, a curved upper surface or dorsum, and inferior or ventral surface. Okay, now in this, next is body has a curved upper surface or dorsum and inferior or ventral surface. Now now dorsum, how the dorsum is made up of? The dorsum is made up of, it is a convex in all the directions. Okay, the dorsum means the upper part of the tongue. It is convex in all the direction and it is divided into oral part. It has three parts: the oral part, which is anterior 2/3, the pharyngeal part, which is posterior 1/3, and the posterior most part of the tongue, which is attached to the hyoid bone. Okay, now there is sulcus terminalis, a V-shaped sulcus that separates the oral and the pharyngeal parts. This circle separates the oral and the pharyngeal parts. This sulcus terminalis. Okay, it is a V-shaped part, and there is foramen caecum. The two limbs of V meet at the median pit. They run laterally and forwards up to the palatoglossal arches. Okay, now next is the as you can say, next is the foramen caecum, which represents the site from which the thyroid diverticulum grows down into the embryo. So in the embryo, this foramen caecum is the site which represents the site from which the thyroid diverticulum grows, okay, in the embryo. Okay. Now next is the inferior or the ventral surface. So the ventral surface, now about the ventral surface. So it is confined to the ventral part only. Okay, now it is confined to the oral part only. Okay, inferior surface is covered with a smooth mucous membrane which shows a median fold called frenulum linguae. The fold is called as frenulum linguae. As you can see here, where is my pen? as you can see here, there is frenulum linguae in the central part, okay, in the ventral part. You can see here the dorsal part, dorsal surface, tip of the tongue, okay, lateral border, and this is the oral tongue, and the circumvallate papillae, the papillae which are present at the back, and the base of the tongue which is attached to the pharyngeal part, okay. Now in this, the ventral part, you can see the which is confined to the oral cavity only. See, okay. Now this, on the other side of the frenulum, there is a prominence called deep lingual veins. You can see this deep lingual veins at the ventral surface of the oral part of the ventral surface. You can see these deep lingual veins. More laterally, there is a fold called plica fimbriata. There is one fold which is called as plica fimbriata, that is directed forwards and medially towards the tip of the tongue. Okay. Now, oral and pharyngeal parts of the tongue differ in their this. Now, as you can see, the oral and pharyngeal parts of the tongue differ in their development, topography, structure and function. Okay, oral part or papillary part of the tongue, this is oral and pharyngeal parts of the tongue differ in their development also, topography, structure and function. All this is, both the oral and pharyngeal parts are differ in all these things. Okay, so oral part or papillary part of the tongue, oral part is also called as the papillary part, and this lies in the mouth or floor of the mouth, lies in front of the palatoglossal arches and the sulcus terminalis. Its margins are free and in contact with the gums and teeth. Just in front of the palatoglossal arch, there is margin shows 4 to 5 vertical folds named foliate papillae. Okay, and the superior surface of this oral part shows a median furrow and is covered with papillae, which make it rough. Okay, so as we have seen this median furrow, this central part is the median furrow. Okay. The superior surface of the oral part shows a median furrow and is covered with the papillae which make it rough. Now the pharyngeal part, that's all about the oral part. Now the pharyngeal part, also called the hyoid part of the tongue. Okay, and it lies in the pharynx, and it lies behind the palatoglossal arches and the sulcus terminalis. Okay, because this is a pharyngeal part, it is the posterior 1/3 part. It lies in the pharynx, and of course the other structures are lies in front of these part are called the palatoglossal arches and the sulcus terminalis. Okay, its posterior surface called the base of the tongue forms the interior wall of the oropharynx. Okay, the mucous membrane has no papillae and has many lymphoid follicles that collectively constitute the lingual tonsil. Okay, this mucous membrane present in this pharyngeal part has no papillae but has many lymphoid follicles that collectively constitute the lingual tonsil. Okay, now mucous glands are also present. Mucous glands are also present in this part. Okay, now the posterior most part which is attached. Okay, the most posterior part which is attached to the it is connected to the epiglottis by 3 folds of mucous membrane. Okay, so these are the median glossoepiglottic fold and the right and left lateral glossoepiglottic folds. These are the various folds through which it is connected to the epiglottis. Okay, then next is on the either side of the median fold there is depression called vallicula. Okay, the other is called as the vallicula or depression, and the lateral folds separate the vallicula from the piriform fossa. Okay, so these are the various parts of the posterior most part of the tongue. On the either side the vallicula, the median and glossoepiglottic fold in the right and left lateral epiglottic folds. Now, what are the muscles of the tongue? Now, next part we will study the intrinsic and the extrinsic muscles of the tongue, which are very important. What are the various muscles of the tongue? The muscle fibers present divides the tongue into right and left halves. Okay, the middle fibroseptum divides the tongue into the right and left halves. First is intrinsic muscles and the extrinsic muscles. Okay, there are 4 intrinsic muscles and 4 extrinsic muscles are present in the tongue. So, intrinsic muscles are the superior longitudinal, inferior longitudinal, transverse and vertical. Okay, the superior longitudinal, inferior longitudinal, transverse and vertical are the intrinsic muscles of the fold of the tongue, and the extrinsic muscles are the genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus and the palatoglossus. These 4 are the extrinsic muscles of the tongue. Okay, so we will study one by one all the muscles, where they are attached and what are their functions. So, next is intrinsic muscles occupy the inner part of the tongue. It's occupy the inner part of the tongue and are attached to the submucous fibrous layer and to the median fibrous septum. Okay, they alter the intrinsic muscles occupy the inner part of the tongue. They are attached to the submucous fibrous layer and to the median fibrous septum. They alter the shape of the tongue. Okay, superior longitudinal muscle lies behind the mucous membrane. It shortens the tongue and makes it dorsum concave. Okay, inferior longitudinal muscle, it is narrow. There is superior longitudinal muscle and the inferior longitudinal muscle. Okay, the superior longitudinal muscle lies beneath the mucous membrane and it shortens the tongue and make its dorsum curve. Okay, and the inferior longitudinal muscle, it is a narrow band lying close to the inferior surface of the tongue between the styloglossus and the hyoglossus. Okay, so it is inferior longitudinal muscle is a narrow band lying close to the inferior surface of the tongue between the styloglossus and the hyoglossus. You can see here there is the styloglossus and the hyoglossus, genioglossus and the genioglossus. Okay, it shortens the tongue and make the dorsum more convex. The superior longitudinal muscle make the tongue more concave and it makes the muscle more convex. Now, the transverse muscle. Now, the transverse muscle extends from the median septum to the margins. It makes the tongue narrow and elongated. Okay. So, the transverse muscle which are present in the tongue here is the intrinsic muscle. You can see the transverse and the vertical, longitudinal. Okay. So, transverse muscles from the median septum of the margins, and it makes the tongue more narrow and elongated when you brings the tongue outside your mouth. The transverse muscle will work. And the vertical muscle, it founds at the borders of the interior part of the tongue. It makes the tongue more broad and flattened. Okay, it makes the tongue more broad and flattened. Now, connect the tongue to the extrinsic muscles. What are the extrinsic muscles and what are their functions? Now, these extrinsic muscles, the 4 intrinsic muscles we have done with. Okay. Now, the extrinsic muscles are they connects the tongue to the mandible via genioglossus. With genioglossus connects the tongue to the mandible, and hyoid bone through hyoglossus. The muscle which is hyoglossus connects the tongue to the hyoid bone. Then styloid process via the styoglossus. Through styoglossus, it connects the muscle to the styloid process, and the palate via the palatoglossus. So as the name suggests, these muscles connects the tongue to the various portion of your mandible. Okay, to the mandible, then it's genioglossus, to the hyoid bone through hyoglossus, to the styloid process via styloglossus, and the palate via the palatoglossus. Now, one by one we will study, but in short and fast. Okay, so the genioglossus is a fan shaped muscle which forms the main bulk of the tongue. Okay, it arises from the upper genial tubercle of the mandible. From here the fibers fan out and run backwards. Okay, now upper fibers are inserted into the tip, middle fibers are inserted into the dorsum. It has 3 fibers, okay, upper, middle and lower fibers. So as it arises from the upper genial tubercle of the mandible, from here the fibers fan out and run backwards. Upper fibers are inserted into the tip, middle fibers are inserted into the dorsum, and lower fibers are inserted into the hyoid bone. Okay, so upper fibers retract the tip, middle fiber depress the tongue, and lower fibers pull the posterior part of the tongue forwards and thus protrude the tongue from the mouth. Okay, now the hyoglossus. One by one we will study all the extrinsic muscles in short. So hyoglossus, it is an important benchmark in the, it is a important landmark in the submandibular region. Its origin from the whole length of the greater cornua and lateral part of body of hyoid bone. Fibers run upwards and forwards. Insertion side of tongue between styloglossus and the inferior longitudinal muscle of tongue. Nerve supply, hypoglossal nerve. Action depresses tongue, make dorsum convex and retracts the protruded tongue. Okay, so this is about the hyoglossus. Okay, its origin, whole length of the greater cornua and lateral body of the hyoid bone. Its fibers runs upwards and forwards. Its insertion at side of the tongue between the styloglossus and the inferior longitudinal muscle of tongue. Nerve supply is through the hypoglossal nerve, okay, the cranial nerve. So our action is, it depresses the tongue, makes the dorsum convex and retracts the protruded tongue. Now, styloglossus, the next muscle is the styloglossus. So the origin is the tip, adjacent part of the interior surface of the styloid process, as well as from the upper end of the styloid ligament. Okay, fibers pass downwards and forwards, insertion into the side of the tongue, intermingling with the fibers of the hyoglossus. Nerve supply, hypoglossal nerve, action during swallowing, it pulls the tongue upwards and backwards. So, palatoglossus, origin, oral palate of palantile, oral cavity of the palantile aponeurosis. Okay, fibers descends into the palatoglossal arch, insertion side of the tongue at the junction of oral and pharyngeal parts. Nerve supply, cervical part of accessory nerve, and action, it pulls up the root of the tongue, approximates the palatoglossal arches and thus closes the oropharyngeal isthmus. Okay, these are the various actions, pulls up the root of the tongue, approximates the palatoglossal arches and thus closes the oropharyngeal isthmus. Now the arterial supply, chiefly from the lingual artery, dorsum of the tongue, the arterial supply is from the lingual artery, branch of external carotid artery, and the root of tongue is also supplied by the tonsillar and ascending pharyngeal arteries. Now, venous drainage, in short, two vena communicates accompany and the lingual artery, one vena communicates accompanies the hypoglossal nerve. So, venous drainage and the lymphatic drainage is to the submental lymph nodes and the submandibular lymph nodes and the jugulo-omoid nodes which drains your tongue. Okay, now nerve supply of the tongue. This is important. So nerve supply of the tongue is, see, the anterior 2/3, the sensory supply is by the lingual nerve. Okay, and the taste is by the chorda tympani except velar papillae. Okay, the anterior 2/3 sensory supply is through lingual nerve. Taste is by chorda tympani except velar papillae. Development of the epithelium, lingual swelling of the first arch tuberculum impar which the soon disappears. Okay, now posterior 1/3 is the glossopharyngeal including the velar papillae, and third arch which forms a large ventral part of the hyporhynchial eminence. Okay, next the last is the posterior most part of the valvula. Internal laryngeal branch of vagus, both the sensory and taste is supplied by the most posterior most part. Okay, the interior laryngeal branch of vagus, the sensory and taste, and development of the epithelium is through fourth arch which forms the small dorsal part of hypobranchial eminence. Okay, so the posterior 1/3 and the posterior most part, the development of the epithelium is through the hypobranchial eminence only. Okay, now the taste buds. So the various taste buds which are present are, this is interesting. So are the most of this on the sides of velar papillae, and they are present on the most of the velar papillae on the walls of the surrounding cell side. They are numerous over the foliate papillae and posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Sparsely distributes on the fungiform papillae, soft palate, epiglottis and the pharynx. No taste buds on the mid dorsum region of the oral part of the tongue. Okay, so these are the various tastes. See, they are present where you can see here the tip, the frontmost part, the tip is the sweet taste. Okay, then by the sides there is salty taste. Okay, and more lateral and downwards is the sour taste, and the most posterior part is the bitter taste. So in this manner the various this is present in the taste buds are present in the tongue. Okay, now next is the this is the taste buds. Now we'll go for the gustatory. Now the applied anatomy of this tongue is, when there is injury to the hypoglossal nerve, produces paralysis of muscles of tongue on the side of the lesion. If the lesion is infranuclear, there is gradual atrophy of the affected half of the lung, that is called as hemiatrophy. Then a muscular twitching are also observed. Infranuclear lesions of the hypoglossal nerve are seen typically in motor neuron disease and in syringobulbia. Supranuclear lesion of the hypoglossal nerve produces paralysis without wasting. This is best seen in the pseudobulbar palsy, where the tongue is stiff, small and moves very sluggishly, resulting in defective articulation. So glossitis is next is the first is the hemiatrophy or the paralysis of the hypoglossal nerve, paralysis of the muscles because of the injury to the hypoglossal nerve. The next is the glossitis, and is usually part of generalized ulceration of the mouth cavity, which is also called as stomatitis. In certain anemias, the tongue becomes bald due to the atrophy of the filiform papillae. Now, next is the presence of rich nerve network of lymphatics and of loose areolar tissue in the substance of the tongue is responsible for the enormous swelling of the tongue in acute glossitis. The tongue fills up the mouth cavity and then protrudes out of it. Okay. So, the undersurface of the tongue is a good site along with the bulbar conjunctiva of the observation of the jaundice. In unconscious patients, the tongue may fall back and obstruct the passages. This can be prevented either by lying the patient on the side with the head down, that is the tonsil position, or keeping the tongue pulled out mechanically. In unconscious patients, we have to check for this. Okay, in patient with the grand mal epilepsy, the tongue is commonly bitten between the teeth during the attack, and this can be prevented by hurried putting in a mouth gag on the onset of the seizure. Okay. Now, carcinoma of tongue is a quite common in and is better treated by the radiotherapy than by surgery. So, since the facilities of irradiation are not available, on the side of the tongue is removed surgically. So, all the deep cervical lymph nodes are also removed, and because of recurrence of malignant disease occurs in lymph nodes. Carcinoma of posterior 1/3 of the tongue is more dangerous due to bilateral lymphatic spread. Okay. Now the pathway. We have to study the pathway, the gustatory pathway, or the pathway of the taste, or the through the tongue. Now, 3 cranial nerves contain axons of the first order gustatory neurons that innervate the taste buds. The facial 7 nerve serves taste buds in the interior 2/3 of the tongue. The glossopharyngeal nerve serves taste buds in the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and the vagus 10th nerve serves the taste buds in the throat and the epiglottis. Okay. Now, from the taste buds, the nerve impulses propagate along these cranial nerves. So, 3 nerves are there from the taste buds: the vagus nerve, the facial nerve, and the glossopharyngeal nerve. These 3 nerves takes the sensation of taste from the tongue to the brain. So, from the taste buds, the nerve impulses propagate along these cranial nerves to the gustatory nucleus in the medulla oblongata. As you can see, this is the tongue. So, these 3 nerves, you can see the 7th facial nerve, the 9th glossopharyngeal nerve, and the 10th vagus nerve. These are taking the sensations of the taste, various tastes, to the medulla oblongata, the gustatory nucleus in the medulla oblongata, and from the medulla, some axons carrying the taste signals project to the limbic system and the hypothalamus. So, some axons are also present there into the limbic system or the hypothalamus, others project to the thalamus. Taste signals that project from the thalamus to the primary gustatory area in the parietal lobe of the cerebral cortex give rise to the conscious perception of taste. Okay. So, this is the in this way, this from tongue through 3 cranial nerves, the facial, glossopharyngeal, and the vagus nerve, to the medulla gustatory nucleus of the medulla oblongata, from medulla oblongata to the limbic system of the hypothalamus, okay, and from hypothalamus to the gustatory area of the hypothalamus, other project to the thalamus, and from there to the taste signals from the thalamus to the primary gustatory area in the parietal lobe of the cerebral cortex. Okay, here the parietal lobe of the cerebral cortex. So, these are present in the here to the, you can say, to the tongue. So, this is the pathway of the tongue. That's all about the tongue.